in our solar system, we're once again entering a really high energy field or cloud within the galaxy known as the photon belt. And according to my research, the entire galaxy is full of these photon high emission energy frequency fields that's come out from the center of the galaxy and like a duff nut, they come back around. It's part of the torsion field of the galaxy. And every time a solar system enters that photon field, it directly aligns with the center of the galaxy. And that explains the sudden transformation of species from one stage of evolution to the next. And this happens throughout every level, where population 1 star systems automatically spontaneously evolve into population 2 star systems, where population 2 star systems, stellar civilizations become galactic, and so on and so forth. So this is not just an event that happens here in our solar system. This is an event that has occurred, for the many billions of solar systems within our galaxy. So due to the fact that our solar system has been entering this field or this high frequency of energy called the photon belt, a lot of changes have been occurring since 1987. So what we're witnessing here is the breaking down of the old paradigm, the breaking down of the old guard, which has been ruling our world for 10,000 years. Because just like my sister pointed out in that diagram, every time our solar system enters this photon belt, we experience about 2,000 years of peace and freedom, which has a lot to do with us being in the high frequency monastic field, causing us to automatically shift into Christ consciousness. And then as we leave the field through this 26,000 year cycle, we gradually go from the age of gold into the age of silver. It's still good, just a little bit of evil lurks in, but as we get further from the photon field, then we go into the age of bronze, where it's like 50% evil, 50% good. And then the last phase of that is the age of iron, or what we call hell on earth, where it's mostly dominated by evil and just a little good exists. So our solar system, according to my research, has completed 5,500 revolutions of that 25,695 year cycle. And now this is amazing, because what I've discovered is that because our solar system, along with its parent star Alcyon and Sirius B, which is our overall parent star, we all, our solar system was birthed by Sirius B. There's the connection there. And so we belong to that part of the galaxy that is connected to Sirius B. So it turns out that our galaxy, Sirius B with Alcyon in our solar system is also revolving around the galactic core in a period of 226 million years. So we are now completing that greater cycle, which means that it's not just the Earth that's ascending, or the different billions of solar systems. We're talking about the ascension of an entire galaxy that is going to once again be restored and reconnected to the eternal life systems of the Mother Universe. So that's what's happening right now. It's bigger than just planet Earth. It's just like a lot of. It's like it's written in the prophecies. We're going to have a totally new heaven and a totally new Earth when this shift takes place. So it's almost like a reboot, where all the negative, ETs, all the fallen Elohim are going to be immediately eliminated when this shift takes place, not only here on the Earth, but on the entire galaxy.
Wow. That's some powerful stuff there. So this is the time period we are living in right now, that this is all going to shift, and we happen to be alive on Earth doing this. But do you believe that we have been in these past lives of star seeds and working with the galaxy? Is that part of our history here?
Absolutely. Many of us have had lots of lifetimes in these other solar systems. As to why I wrote my book, describing the galactic history, because sometimes when a starseed gets a glimpse of what the galactic history is, they receive memories. They get their memories back as to who they were in these galactic wars, against the Draco. So yes, we've all been instrumental. See, we've done this before. This is not the first time we've volunteered to come to a planet in a very low dimension in order to help the planet. We've done this many times, and some of us have actually done this in other universes. And that's why the strongest of souls chose to volunteer in the greatest experiment that the galaxy has ever conducted, which is Mother Earth. So yeah, we've done this before. And it's funny because we always reincarnate together. We act as a team, every single one of us, and that's why we gravitate towards each other. We feel a sense of connection when we all meet each other, or when we see each other. We feel like, wow, I know that person, because of the fact that we've done this before, and we do work as a group, and that explains the 144,000.
Yes, excellent. And so we've met before. We've been together as a team here. That's awesome.
Every single one of us, Gila, you guys, Kabbalah Guru, Mel. I mean, the list goes on. Terabyte, Janine. We're all part of the same team, and that's why we gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, we're seeing like this all of a sudden in the last couple months, at least with our show, we're seeing this gravitation of all this new family coming in and all these new connections. And it's almost like it's momentum that can't be stopped. It's just coming together. And so we're having a lot of fun with that and enjoying meeting all of our new old brothers and sisters that we used to know. And they do feel like family. As soon as you meet them, you start talking, you're like, wow, this is fantastic. And you feel just at home with a lot of these people. So,
well, Greg, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And, I think for everyone out there that hasn't seen it, just a good reference, it's up on our Rumble page, is The Bringers of the Dawn. It's the Pleiadian message, the 26-minute excerpt, the calling to the family of light, is a good higher representation of the team that's here, why we came here. We were chosen and we chose. Both. We chose to come here and we were chosen because we could handle this and we could evolve and ascend the species with the species, and we had to receive the light. Someone has to be here to be a receiver of this light that we're receiving that's causing us to ascend so quickly. And last, I just want to point out in timing, because people are all concerned with times and then we want to be exact with them. And within the relative potential of the universe, there is no certainty. However, when it reaches the point, there is a certainty in that it's going to happen, and we're in that time frame. If you look back to 1987, which is called back in the harmonic resonance time, you then move towards 2012, and there's a sequence, and then there's a real one in 2027. So if you look at the Gene Keys, for people who have not read the book by Richard Rudd, The Gene Keys, it will talk about this time period and how 1987 was going to move into this wave, which he referenced earlier, Ismael did, and then into 2012, which of course everybody was focused on and exhilarated in for, with that part of the awakening. And we are arriving at this, what's called almost like the grand symphony, which is a relative timing, but it points to 2027. So I feel like many of the beings that are part of the team and doing the work that we're doing right now, besides just being it now and not projecting these time frames, we can look forward to that and say, hey, there's got to be a process. It can't happen all at once or people would blow up. There'd be too much chaos. There has to be a relative timing to it. And we are entering that phase now. And, lastly, just be here now and enjoy the ride now just as much as you're wanting to get all these mental, projections and images of what you want to happen.
Yeah, I think it's good to hold, the future of a real positive place, but it's also, you got an ego that's in there trying to push things to happen. It loves to push and pull and make, waves. And so what that does is it kind of screws around with the timeline a little bit, I think. So we'll see. Gila, you interviewed Ismael at one point, and you guys had a really fun interview and all that kind of stuff. Was there any question that you really had that you wanted to ask him that you forgot to ask or didn't have a chance to?
Well, I'm interviewing him again on Thursday.
Oh, okay.
So I have about 50 questions I have to narrow down. But yeah, there's a lot. I feel like I was thinking about this yesterday. Like, the more questions I have, the more I have. But then also what Ismael does is he settles me in such a way that because he has such a confidence about him, you have such a confidence about you, that I could hold my questions in like a state of grace and know that they will be answered in the right time. So while I love asking you questions, you also give humanity that gift of your confidence.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me bring your book on over here. And so this book right here, Our Cosmic Origin, what did you write this for? Who's this for? What message are you trying to send out here?
Well, the whole time I was writing the book, I felt like I was guided by something greater than myself, So from the beginning, I knew that this book was going to be different than every other book. And that's why I ended it the way I did. This book was written by an emissary of light representing the higher intelligences, Ismael Perez. It's not your typical book. It is a book of massive initiation for anyone, whether you are an old soul, starseed, or a newbie, normie. This book will trigger you, will allow you to really, really understand things from a higher perspective. So the whole time I was writing the book, I felt like my higher self was coming through me. My galactic team was, downloading transmissions, because some of the information in this book, even as I reread it, it blows me away. It blows my third dimensional mind away. So I am as much a student as I am a teacher. I'm always with an empty cup, ready to learn more, because nobody really knows everything. But, knowledge, it is also infinite. And so the whole time I was writing the book, I was being led by something similar to that movie, Field of Dreams, where the guy kept hearing voices. If you build the stadium, they will come. And so I felt the same way. If you write the book, it'll attract the right people. And so I just went with my intuition. It took me many, many years. And I actually finished writing it 5 years ago. That's when the manuscript, Our Cosmic Origin, was complete. But they kept telling me that the collective wasn't ready for such information. So that book just sat there for 5 years. And then 5 years later, they said, Ishmael, the time is right. The collective of humanity has reached a level of consciousness where they are ready to understand the bigger picture of the cosmos and Earth's relationship to the cosmos. And then that's when a buddy of mine reached out, and we went ahead and we put it into print. Not print, first we got it edited, and then we put it in print. Oh, I did get it edited, by the way, but it was the formatter at the end when it was getting ready to go into print with Amazon that kind of messed things up for the book. But at that point, it was already in print. So I will be doing a second edition and adding a second chapter that's going to segue into the third book, Our Cosmic Origin Volume 2, which is going to be even more mind expansive and deeper.
Wow, excellent. And what a synchronicity. You said Field of Dreams, and I made a video for later on after the second half of the show. I mentioned the Field of Dreams and all about that. So that's really, really cool. I love when we see synchronicities like that. What's the chances? And so this sounds excellent for basically almost anybody who's on that awakening path, who's just questioning things. And you're right with writing a book. I wrote 2, and Gila also talked about this. It feels like it's just being downloaded into you when you start writing, and you get in that mode, in that zone. It just starts coming out on paper, and then you go back and reread it, and you're like, oh my god, I wrote that, or I don't remember even saying that. So really cool stuff. It sounds super powerful, and I love the way you can articulate it into what you put on paper, because sometimes it's hard to do that. It's hard to say exactly what was from your heart and what you put into this book. So excellent stuff. Everybody go out there and grab this on Amazon. And is it available anywhere else besides Amazon?
I'm trying to get it out into major bookstores like Barnes & Noble, but that's taking a process.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's a complicated one. But yeah, everybody go out there and grab Our Cosmic Origin. Awesome stuff there. And so when we talk about, I love how you're humble and that you're willing to learn. You're a student, and we all are students. I never claim to know everything, and it's just, you can't. Everybody's got their piece of the puzzle, and I don't like when people attack people because they're like, well, they said one wrong thing. That doesn't make sense. They're awful people. Like, it's like, okay, everybody relax here. Everybody give, the universe time to unfold the plan for you. And everybody's going to play a role on this planet, and we talk about it a lot, me and Jaron, about the Avengers coming together. Everybody's got their unique strengths. When you look at the Avengers, everybody had a flaw too. You're not perfect people. We're 3D people here, trying to do something 5D. It's like, it's nuts. And so I love the humbleness. Do you think that, like, the perspective of the planet, right? That 2 people can be right at the same time, that 5 people can have 5 different answers and they can be right? Is this kind of a dimensional thing right now?
Absolutely, yes. Sometimes you could have a scientist in one part of the world and another scientist in another part of the world, and they arrive at the same theory and they write about it without knowing each other, and it is exactly the same. Because of the fact that, infinite, how can I say it? We are all connected to infinite intelligence. It's just a matter of tapping into it. So what I've been doing is I've been gathering just bits or a little bit of information, but everybody has that ability because we are all extensions of the one. So by going within ourselves, by doing the meditation, by doing the work, that will actually allow yourself to be a channel to this infinite intelligence. In other words, you connect with your higher self. And that explains why many people across the world have received the same downloads without knowing each other, because truth is universal.
Yeah, for sure. So when we're talking about, the planet as a whole, right? And it's growing. It's got this huge parallel universes going on here right now. It's very dynamic. You got one side and you got the other side, and you got people trying to figure out things, and you got these digital warriors behind the scenes. I guess you call them the black hats, going around doing evil things, and they have been for a long time. We're uncovering those things, being light workers. We're shining light on the dark, and they can't hide anymore. And all this stuff is going on all at once. Very dynamic. What do you tell people in this period of time to help, stay clear, to help relax, to help be in the right mindset and the high vibrational level? What would you tell them?
To have discernment, and one way to really practice and actualize discernment is through, meditation. I always say that take 20 to 30 minutes a day and, go within and really just clear your mind and see what the universe has to say to you, because the universe is constantly trying to guide you and align you to your higher purpose. So the more you meditate, the more you're going to be able to not only align with your mission and your higher self, but the more you're going to be able to discern what is truth from what is not truth, because we're also dealing with the dark forces that are constantly bombarding us with misinformation. So this is where the discernment comes into play. We're living in a time where information is about to flood the earth like no tomorrow. And that's the true meaning of apocalypse. Nothing to do with the end of the world. Well, it's the end of the dark world, the dark side's rule of the world, and the beginning of a better world. But it has a lot to do with a flooding of higher information that is going to be coming in. And in order to have discernment, in order to understand and gravitate to what is the truth in that, is by meditating, because your spirit, your internal guidance system will never mislead you. That is your spirit, your higher self, that is in alignment with Creator Source.
And when we get these DNA downloads, I think they're coming in every once in a while. They're just coming in. Is it come into our sleep? Does it come in just like in waves? Like, how does these DNA downloads come in? And are we becoming like crystalline, human beings? Is that what's happening here?
Absolutely, yes. Our matter is transforming from carbon-based DNA to crystalline. Well, we're going to be using about 50% crystalline DNA. We use that all the way up until the fifth dimension. And once we get into the sixth dimension, then we use mostly crystalline DNA. But the downloads are coming in 24/7, whether you are in your sleep or whether you are in your wake state. The downloads, the photonic energy that has a lot of light codes are constantly being absorbed with your DNA at the cellular level. So it's just a matter of being anchors. It's just a matter of tapping into those frequencies, because those that are going within, those that are doing the work, are actually getting the downloads. Those that are not doing the work, it's almost like you're a receptor of these downloads, but you're not receiving it. Your antenna is turned off. So in order to turn on your antenna, in order for you to receive these new downloads, you have to be you have to practice meditation. You have to do the inner work as well, and that's crucial, in this age of transformation.
Is that also like decalcifying your pineal gland as well? Is that your antenna as well, to help download things in?
Yes. The more you meditate, the more you actually activate your pineal and your pituitary gland, which allows the other 96% of your brain to start functioning.
And what kind of meditations are you suggesting here that people could do? Is it just shutting your eyes and being in silence, or is there a walk-through meditation you like? Anything like that?
Well, I practice Kriya Kundalini Yoga. There's hundreds of forms of meditation. There's transcendental meditation. There is, breathing meditation where you just focus on your breath, which is what most people do. There's mindfulness meditation, which is just quieting your mind and learning how to just focus. So any meditation is good. It's all about actually controlling your mind, because once we go into this fifth dimensional reality, we're going to be manifesting at the speed of light. So if we don't learn how to control our thought processes now, we're going to be manifesting things that we don't really like in the fifth dimension. Yeah. So in a way, this is a training ground. This is a training ground for us to master our thoughts, and therefore master the energy. Because by mastering your thoughts, you're in control of the energy.
Yeah, imagine a planet where all of a sudden you can manifest anything you think about, and you can't control your thoughts going to negative stuff. And I mean, you think about, we're addicted to this negative thinking all the time, right? And so think about manifesting all the time, and you're trying to control your thoughts. And so this is all a process. People have to there's a purpose why it's taking so long and why we need to go through this process, because we are in a state where if we all of a sudden had these magical powers out of nowhere, we would be like Superman who couldn't fly straight, and he'd be banging into a building here, banging into a building there. You got to be able to control the car. So this is part of the learning and training process of all of this. So that's excellent information there. And you brought something to me that I had never thought about before. I mean, imagine people just being able to instantly manifest who can't control it. So pretty interesting stuff there. So when we talk about the galaxy, right, and everything around us going on, other planets, are there things going on other planets? Are there Anunnaki, all those type of things? Is there stuff going on other planets?
Oh yeah, our entire universe is teeming with life, and there's well, in our galaxy, in the alpha version of our galaxy, which is the timeline that we're a part of, the wars have already been won by the light. So there's different versions of our galaxy, just like there's different versions of ourselves. The Omega galaxy is the version of our galaxy where the dark forces won. So what we're dealing with here is which one is going to play out. Well, this also ties into the idea of 5D versus 5G. So as you know, 5D is about organic ascension, the transformation of the human species into the next stage, organically, without merging with the technology. And then this whole concept of the 5G is the idea, it goes with transhumanism and the idea of merging with the tech. So what we're going to be witnessing is when the solar flash takes place, we're going to be witnessing a split. Now, in our galaxy, there are actually tribunals taking place right now as I speak. Not only in our Milky Way galaxy, but in all the galaxies within our universe. These are called intergalactic tribunals, where the forces of light are actually conducting a huge house cleansing. So it's not just about the liberation of the Earth, it's about the liberation of the entire universe. And so since this planet is the chosen planet, the living cosmic library, it's all going to take effect here on the Earth. Once all the tribunals are over everywhere in our cosmos, then the Earth is going to be ready to once again take her position at the center of everything that is, as it was originally planned by the founder races before it was hijacked and intercepted by the fallen ones. So what we're witnessing here is the actual restoration of an entire cosmos, not just the Earth.
Wow, that's amazing that, we think about planet Earth and we think about everything that goes on this planet. We don't think about the entire universe and everything kind of coming into a certain time and place. And so we have to think more big picture when we're thinking all this stuff. And, watching all the movie play out, do you believe this is a movie going on with all the governments and all the military and the wars and the this and the that and all the news? Is this all just a story playing out? Is it reality, or is it a story, or is it a little combination of both here?
Well, it's all part of the simulation in this lower dimension. As you know, the third dimensional reality was developed and engineered by the fallen negative Anunnaki that took over the affairs of our world approximately 15,000 years ago with Marduk and Enki. So we're actually finishing that. We're ending. That's called the old guard, by the way. And so what we're witnessing right now is a transference of power from the old guard into the new Earth structure, which is going to be overseen by the rise of the Starseed Nation when we transform into these metagalactic humans. So in a way, yes, it's a script at the same time, but at the same time, it's a narrative that is now coming to an end as a new narrative comes into place. So at the highest levels of reality, everything's being orchestrated. Everything has some sort of genetic blueprint template. And that is what causes what generates the narratives and the simulations that we experience in the lower dimensions.
So a lot of people on the chat boards, thank you for writing in. We're having a lot of interest in this. They're loving what you're saying here. So I just want to give you a little feedback on that. So when we're talking about being our best selves, we talk about meditation. It is what we're eating, what we're drinking, what we're putting in our body. Is this mattering right now, or is this we're just going to end up, being these amazing beings anyways? It does, is there a difference? Is it going to help us speed along quicker? What's going on with how we eat, how we drink, all that stuff?
Oh, it all helps because your body is the receptor of the gamma ray frequencies or the photonic light energy. See, there is an interconnection between the universe and our body at the cellular level. So we are, in a sense, cells of the universe. Everything's interconnected. We are part of a greater organism. So what we feed our bodies, what we put in our bodies, has a lot to do with how much information and how much activation we receive. And so many of us who are actually awakened are shifting from what they used to eat to something that is more pure, raw, organic, alkaline water, multiple greens, fruits, vegetables, living fruits and vegetables, not the ones that have been genetically modified, but the ones that are, grown in farms without the pesticides and all that stuff. So it makes a huge difference. Yeah, when you keep your body healthy by putting in only foods that are high vibrational, because that's what the food, everything's alive, even plants and vegetables have an aura. So when we cook it, that kills the aura. And what is the aura of a plant and a vegetable? It is the universal life force that comes from the sun. So we're actually eating the rays of the sun when we switch to living organic foods.
Wow, really cool.
And that in turn helps to activate more so our light body, and then we become less dense.
Yes, absolutely. I always like to say sources where, find your best food sources, right? You have farms near you, local farmers markets, those type of things. Probably the best place to go and find great energy food. And you can feel that. You can feel your food. You can, when you eat it, when you, even pick it up, you can tell if it feels good to you, if it's talking to you, or if it's dead, right? Or if it's, modified and boy, what a zombie fruit or something. So yeah, pretty interesting there, and that's great advice for people to get lighter so you can vibrate higher. And what's your take on a little bit of alcohol once in a while or that type of stuff? Do you go by the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you do the right things and 20% of the time, well, we fall off the track? We have a little fun 3D humanism, or what? What's your take on that?
Well, personally, myself, I stopped drinking 20 years ago because when I was a teenager, after my mother passed away at the age of 16, I fell into a big depression. And so drinking was, in a way, allowing me to cope with life. I was a very depressed teenager. But I no longer drink. But for those that do drink, I think as long as it's in moderation and you're not drinking daily, because, if you drink daily, then you're in a way poisoning your body. But if you drink occasionally, if you have a glass of wine here and there, it's okay, It's nothing, I heard that a glass of wine and one glass of wine per night actually helps with your blood vessels in your heart. So, yeah, I don't have anything bad to say about that. As long as it's in moderation, it should be good. But if you're drinking every day, then obviously, then it becomes an addiction, like anything else.
Yeah, for sure. And do you think part of I know like you went through a tough time in your teenage years, but do you think part of being depressed was just you had all of this starseed information inside of you wanting to get out? Had nobody around you that you could express this to, because I think a lot of us felt that way. Black sheeps of the family, maybe nobody really you could talk to about the things that fascinate you, the open mind, the expansion of human beings. You think that was part of it?
Absolutely, yes, because I was forced to suppress my inner knowing of things. Because I grew up in a very strictly religious Catholic home. And so all of my family were very, very religious. So, in a way, it was just like I couldn't express myself. I couldn't even talk to my peers in school because they already thought it was weird. So it was me just suppressing and boggling all this inner knowing for many, many years. And then, of course, the passing of my mother really just caused me to even go into a spiral of further depression. So it was very hard for me as a teenager. Not only was I the black sheep in my family, but it seems like even in school I was the black sheep.
Yeah, I think a lot of us feel isolated, or did feel isolated. I know, Jaron, you grew up in a family where your mother was very awake, and she, as a baby, she was even filling you full of aliens and star seeds and all that stuff. So you had that. And what do you think that you evolve differently than a lot of other people because of that?
Well, just relative to my own experience, that's all I can say. That for sure, shout out to my mother. It is true. She talked to me about this coming time frame way back in the late 80s. I can remember being 4 years old we were getting the mail, driving up the driveway, and she was talking to me about how intention creates reality and talking to me about the 2012 time period. So I'm very fortunate to have that put into my system at a young age. I think what it did mostly is it allowed me to be open and to be more free, or at least attempt that route. And I think that's what we're getting towards, besides what's right and wrong, what's fact and not, because inevitably everything is not factual. It's an illusion. The only thing that's factual is energy, frequency, and vibration, and then the consciousness behind it. Everything else is just ever changing. So you have to have an open mind, open spirit. And I just want to touch on the discernment factor. If, have an open mind, but if your natural energy is to just take everything in that even doesn't feel right, if you don't say no, you're going to put it into your machine. So if it's not correct for you, Don't just give into it. Delete it from your moment. Don't add it to the memory. So we have to be very discerning what information we're actually taking in and what we're just observing. And lastly, I just want to mention, I saw some of the guests the people commenting, asking about the galactic human design. I heard them say, because they're very into the gene keys, so they have heard about this cosmic human design. It's called cosmic human design. I just want to inform new people here today that we're going to be talking about that in the second half of the show. So if you're interested in that, we are going to be touching on what that is as we go forward. And meditation, everybody. Meditation is so important because we have to get out of the mind and out of the emotions and out of the body and out of the external circumstances that we think are us. We are not that. It's just an experience. Meditation, so that you are in observance of your mind. You're in observance of your world. And then from that place, you activate the God self in you that can create, energize, and
in a way, wizards, gods, goddesses in human form. And so it's something that I've done in every lifetime. It's part of my overall state of being where I am just in constant balance. So I meditate for my mind and my spirit, and then I work out for my body just to keep that balance going, because we're not just evolving, mentally and emotionally, we're also evolving physically, in a sense where like these bodies are one day going to be our eternal avatars, because this is the final incarnation, by the way. And these are the bodies that we are going to take with us as we go into higher dimensions. So, yeah, and I also have a pretty strict diet. I only drink water that is living, pure water. I don't drink acidic water anymore. I eat a lot of raw fruits and vegetables. I still eat meat, but it's organic meat and mostly fish and chicken. I don't eat red meat anymore, but that's just because my body can't needs meat. There's certain people that are just made that way. It's hard for them to go vegan. When I tried doing the vegan stuff, I became very ill. I became very anemic and very I wasn't as strong in the gym. I noticed that my strength levels dropped dramatically. So I need meat. Everybody's made differently. So no judgment there. As long as you're eating the right foods, and you're drinking the right liquids. Like, don't drink soda anymore. Soda, anything with sugar is the enemy. Those energy drinks are poison. Like, Red Bull, Monsters, all that stuff is bad for you. So as long as you're feeding your body the right stuff, you should be good.
Yeah, we have a lot of similarities in that way. I'm a former personal trainer, so is Jaron. I actually personal train a little bit here and there still, but I went through the vegan thing, I went through the vegetarian thing, I went through all the kinds of different diets, right? And I couldn't take the vegan thing. I went 9 months, and I started to really lose a lot of my mojo. I just couldn't feel that energy anymore, so I had to. But it was a fun adventure. I wanted to go on the adventure. I wanted to try it out and see how it would work for me. I think also part of it, and maybe you agree with me, Ismael, is that the energy in the food right now is not what it once was and what it was meant to have in it. And so if you can't find really, really good sources, when you're just having fruits and vegetables or stuff like that, you can't get enough energy in you. And we're not at the dimension where we don't have to eat anymore, or we create our own energy. So you find that the food on the planet just doesn't have that great energy in it anymore?
Well, it all depends. If it's if it's food that is being grown in farms, I like to go to the local farmers market because they don't put anything in their food. It's just pure food. But it's also important to take a lot of superfoods. Every morning I take my chlorella, my spirulina, ashwagandha. I take moringa seeds. I also take acai. I love my acai bowl. So if you could implement the usage of superfoods are key. So it all depends on what you eat. Really, your body is your temple, and it's true. That saying that says that you are what you eat. So if you're eating bad stuff, your body's going to assimilate that, and you don't want to do that, because in turn that brings down your frequency. So if you want to stay at a high frequency, it's good to take in a lot of superfoods. So I'm a big advocate of superfoods, and I've been taking superfoods for many, many years.
Yeah, that's great advice there. And someone missed the answer to the alcohol, and it basically was just moderation. If you can do it in moderation, you'll be fine. So, in this big picture of everything that's going on, we're advancing, we're growing, we're expanding. I always talk about do expansion behaviors, don't do contraction behaviors. And so watch those in your life where you're going with what you're doing, right? Your repetitive behaviors on a daily basis, the auto programming that's going on inside of you. Ismael, do you notice that even though you're really, got this huge knowledge and you're expanding at all times, that you still have those contraction moments, places that you don't want to go, behaviors that you're trying to break still? Is there still that going on inside of you as well?
Yes. I'm constantly, having to remind myself that I am not my thoughts, that I am not these behaviors, just like our brother here said earlier. It's a matter of being the observant. And so, we all go through that until we are in our fifth dimensional state of consciousness permanently. We're still going to have these challenges, because we're still part of the third dimension. Actually, it's coexisting right now. The fifth dimension and the third dimension are coexisting in the same plane of reality. So the more we practice mindfulness, the more we're going to be centered in the fifth dimensional state of awareness. And when we fall off of that, when we stop doing our meditations, that's when we go back into the cycle, of the third dimensional world. And so that's where it all happens. Is how mindful are you of your thoughts? How much are you absorbing? Like you say, washing dishes, thinking about the future, worrying about the next. a wife that I'm taking care of, so I'm her supporter, and then I have a daytime job. So if I didn't have all that, I'd probably be done in less than a year.
Yeah,
300
absolutely.
something like that. So to me, it's just about the balance again. So I'm hoping that it'd be done in 2 years. I'm waiting to I'm this close in quitting my daytime job the way things are going, so that way I can put all my focus in my mission and start writing the next book.
Well, we'll all pray for your wife and for you to find that path where it brings you freedom, so that you can bring more time to this awesome earth. And on Wednesday nights, we actually do a collective co-manifestation or co-meditation where we get as many people together over Zoom, and we all do this meditation together. And we will do a little prayer for your wife and to help her through that whole thing. So that's quite the tough path to go down. And there's your 3D world right there, right? With having to be a father, having to all these things going on in your life, and trying to be this cosmic ambassador at the same time. So we really appreciate all that you're doing for us and taking the time to do that, and taking the time to do this interview and getting up early out there in the West Coast.
You're very much